Hey, I gotta display that I'm going live. This is Brother Rob Wilson. I wanted to go live today, see if I can pick up any viewers who are subscribers to this channel. I wanted to share something with you. Let me get my microphone. Let me get my handy dandy microphone up here. I know it gets a little noisy if I move it around. I had something I wanted to share with some individuals. That light is too bright. I'm making some studio adjustments today, y'all. I wanted to share something with you. If you've ever been in contact with a narcissist, if you have ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, if you have been, or you are, or you will be, and this is going to help you out tremendously. Tremendously. The narcissist does not want their victims to know this secret. All right. And when I come at sharing the truth about narcissistic personality disorder and recovery and spotting one, recognizing one, I come at this from a Christian perspective. Okay. I come at this from the fact that the the root command in the Christian perspective is love. Love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. The narcissist is the exact opposite of the biblical definition of love. They are anti love, they are anti Christ. Sometimes narcissists can claim to be Christians. Sometimes we find that abusive pastors and clergy members are actually narcissists. And we actually find all the symptoms of narcissism in every form of abusive leadership and relationship. But this is what I want to tell you. I'm going to read from First Corinthians, the 13th chapter today in this revelation of what they don't want you to know. And this will free you. This frees me every time I realize I'm dealing with a narcissist and there is something within an individual that wants to be seen and recognized for who you and I actually are. And I want to give you this truth. The narcissist can never see you or I as who we actually are because they view the individuals in their life through a schema, through a paradigm, through a lens of who they are. That's why the narcissist projections upon you, the narcissist gaslighting of you, and the narcissist description of you is ordinarily more accurately a description of themselves. But let me first tell you what they don't want you to know. They cannot trust. The narcissist cannot trust. The narcissist is unable to trust you and unable to trust themselves. And their inner understanding of the fact that they are untrustworthy is the reason why they see all of their victims as untrustworthy. Because remember, they're not seeing you for you, they're seeing you through a lens of who they are. And to a narcissist, your only value is supply. Your only value is the role or the assignment they have given you in their circus paradigm. And the reason I'm this is going to be a revelation of the narcissist mind games. Okay. That's why the thumbnail is mind games. Narcissists play mind games. But to a narcissist, their mind games, they are reality. But to the victim, it makes the victim what I call in a status of fog, fear, obligation, and guilt. These are high value tactics used by the narcissist. I see somebody tuning in, so let me know if this is Chicken Nugget. Hey, Chicken Nugget, it's just me and you right now. So the narcissist uses fear, obligation, and guilt to control their victim. And one of the ways that they control their victim is through the use of the tactic of making you feel like you're untrustworthy and then trying to get you to win their trust, to prove yourself. I might have some chicken breast for lunch with some rice. I'm thinking about that chicken nugget. So, what the narcissist wants to get you to do is prove that you can be trustworthy and prove that you can be trusted. And they get their victim moving from actual position of who they are consistently to who the narcissist wants to convince them they are. You're trustworthy. You're accountable. You're responsible. You keep your commitments. You keep your obligation. When you say yes, the answer is yes. When you say no, the answer is no. That's the exact opposite of a narcissist. But they keep their victims in this web of deception and delusion by trying to constantly prove to them that they can trust you. And this is where we have to get to be people of discernment who, it stinks. Anytime you have to keep notes and keep track of the history that you have with an individual, you're in a bad place. But we have to really suspend our feelings and our emotions and look at the evidence. And all the evidence goes to the fact that you can't trust them. You can't trust them. They say yes, but then they say no. They say no and then they say yes. They act like they're agreeable when they have something that they can get out of you. It can happen in church. This narcissistic dynamic happens in families of origin. It can happen in the workplace. It can happen in the church. It can happen. It can happen almost anywhere where there's two people involved, and one of them is trying to control the other person. But let me read the scripture to you. And this is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And I'm going to ask you, when I read from the scripture what describes love, this is known as the love chapter. Look at all the ways that the behavior of a narcissist is completely 100% contradictory to what the Bible describes as love. Let's go ahead and read this. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, okay, no matter how good of an orator I am, no matter how consummate a communicator I am, but I have not love, what am I? I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Have you ever been in a relationship with somebody who they could speak well, but all they made was noise? That's a narcissist. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith so as to remove mountains but have not love, in other words, these people knew things, they had understanding, they could give you deep revelation, and they were knowledgeable. They may be accomplished people, but accomplished people, look at people who climb the corporate ladder. Look at people who ascend to positions of CEO. That you don't ascend to the position of CEO in the corporate structure and not be a narcissist and not make decisions that are based on the bottom line and not people and not love. Can I play Fortnite? No. So, but if I have all these abilities and all these performances and have not love, it says, I am nothing. And then it says in verse 3, if I give away all I have and deliver my body over to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. So no matter how sacrificial a person may perform or how much they even will perform self-harm, if they're not doing it for the benefit of the recipient. See, you can do all those things, and you can do all those things for your benefit. For you could be watching this video right now for your own agenda, and you're not really caring about the content of the video. but you're wanting to have your own conversation. Okay. So if I was watching this video and I really wanted to get something out of it, I would be listening for what the content of the video is about and what it says here. Okay. So all those things are saying that you can do great things, you can say great things, you can have great knowledge, and you can be very sacrificial, but you did not do it for the recipient of those things that you spoke, that you did, or that you said. You did those things for your benefit. In other words, your mouth flapping is for your benefit, not the benefit of others. Your I'm gonna leave that alone. But here's what it says about love in verse 4. It's patient. Are you patient? Is the potential narcissist in your life that you have such difficulty with, are they patient? That doesn't describe a narcissist. They are impatient. What more accurately describes a narcissist is impulsive. Okay. Love is patient. Love is kind. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I see you in the chat. Happy birthday, Chicken Nugget. I'm not singing you a song. I'm not that good a singer. Love is patient and love is kind. Are you kind, Chicken Nugget? Are you kind? Do you have grace for others? Do you give gifts to others on their birthday? Do you, do you come in people's chats to talk about Fortnite and not narcissism? It says love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. Love is not arrogant or rude. The narcissist is arrogant and rude. It does not insist on its own way. Wow. Love does not insist on its own way. I don't have to have my way. We can have your way. We can have a brief moment where we say happy birthday to Chicken Nugget. When I tell Chicken Nugget, all right, when I tell Chicken Nugget in the chat that I can't play Fortnite, I don't play games. I don't play video games. And I don't play narcissist mind games either. It says love is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love, which is the opposite of a narcissist, love bears all things. It's very tolerable, even of things that it does not desire. Love believes all things, woo, hopes all things, endures all things. Narcissists do not put up with much. They're very intolerant. They don't believe all things because they believe only the things that exist within themselves. And they don't hope all things. They're not very optimistic. They more are like the person it says here. It does love does not delight in the truth or does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. A narcissist delights in finding fault with you. A narcissist delights in seeing the ways you don't measure up. Rather, love delights in seeing what's right about you. Love delights in making the most of you, celebrating your birthday. That's quite the opposite of the narcissist. They won't celebrate your birthday. They don't look forward to your birthday because they would prefer that you don't have a birthday. That's a narcissist. It says here, love never fails. And this is again talking about God's agape love for us and the love that we can share with those with whom we have fellowship. But you can't have a fellowship with a narcissist. Love never fails. Prophecies, they'll pass away. Tongues, they will cease. Knowledge will pass away. We know in part and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the impartial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. And this is where we get to the issue of maturity. Look what it says here in verse 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I understood like a child. I thought like a child. That is the condition that a narcissist remains in, whether they are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. They continue to speak in childish ways, understand the world around them and others in a childish manner, and they continue to think in childish ways. That's why communication is so difficult. And it says here, Paul, on the other hand, the consummate apostle and the minister of the love of God through Christ Jesus, says, when I became a man, and the narcissist has not become a man or a woman, has not become a mature adult. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. That's the difference. The narcissist has not and cannot give up childish ways. If you're 40 years old and you're 50 years old, and the thing that a narcissist has learned to do is they have learned to survive through a series of the most carnal, fleshly mind games and tricks and techniques. And these survival mechanisms have become more than what you do during a season when you don't know better. And it's become a pathological way of life. The narcissist is typically given over to black and white thinking. That's why you can go from friend to the most hated villain in a narcissist life in a fraction of a second, in a millisecond. You can go from the love of their life to Satan incarnate in the eyes of a narcissist, because they do not have any internal weather. They do not have the internal weather of mature adults. That if you have a question about something they promised to do, or you have an obligation they didn't keep, and you want to tell them how that affected you, and the way that it inconvenienced you, that they didn't pick you up from, they promised to pick you up from work, they were off today, and they not only didn't pick you up from work, you couldn't even reach them on the phone when they were supposed to be picking you up from work. And what do they do when they don't meet their obligations? Instead of taking responsibility, and this is again back to the childishness, instead of taking responsibility, they blame you. They said I'll pick you up after work. They said I'll be there at 4 o'clock, and you can't even reach them on the phone. You got to take an Uber home. The narcissist is a toddler or less, maybe an infant, trapped in an adult body. Let me read this again. 1 Corinthians 13, chapter 13, verse 13. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I understood like a child. I thought like a child. That's what a narcissist is, a child, and all the child's defense mechanisms and mannerisms and games that they play. Think about Think about a child. It's normal for a child, if they don't get their way, what do they say? You don't love me. That's what the narcissist does. The moment they don't get their way, the moment that you don't agree with them, the moment that you don't capitulate to their faulty and strange and bizarre way of interpreting the world around them, the moment that you don't capitulate, you don't love them. You go from the love of their life and their soulmate to Satan in a fraction of a second. Children act like that. Children act like that. Children throw temper tantrums. Children stonewall. Children turn their back on you and cross their arms. That's the communication capacity of a child. That's normal. We don't fault children. We parent children into healthier ways of communicating what's going on inside them to us, and then we try to help them reason their way out of it. Let me just run something across you. Now, I've had difficulty with my children before on another child's birthday, that the other children will be jealous and upset that they didn't get a gift. And they can actually throw a little tantrum. I'm not getting anything. Then you explain to them, you remind them, do you remember your birthday? You remember all the presents you got? Yeah. Did you enjoy your birthday? Yeah. Did anybody else get presents? Um, no. That's normal. It's not your day. We've come to a world where I see parents and that that on their child's birthday they got to create a gift bag for all the other little children. We're surrounded by narcissists. We are socializing people into narcissism and pathologically selfish behavior. On your birthday, I don't need nothing. I'm going to come. I'm going to bring a card or gift for you. I'm going to say happy birthday. I'm going to sing happy birthday, even though I can't sing very well. It's about you, it's not about me. But Paul said, when I became a man, I gave up childish ways. But it goes on to say, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. The narcissist cannot understand reality. There is no seeing through a mirror dimly. There is only seeing through the narcissist's uh, internal insecurities, fear, and shame based actions. Even the most accomplished narcissist who has achieved much in life and they have a whole posse surrounding them. I want you to think about this. Think about President Trump, okay? The moment that there's any dissent in his camp, and somebody might get on here and say, oh, Trump's not a narcissist. Wait a minute. The moment there's an ounce or a fraction of disagreement or dissent, what has he done to people in his camp? He's cut them loose. He's cut them off. He's fired them. He's gotten rid of them because he cannot get past when there's disagreement. It doesn't say, okay, maybe there's a nuance to this. Maybe there's a way to do what I'm thinking about doing and what you're thinking about doing and make that cohesive partnership in a solution. Okay. There's no new, it's my way or the highway. The narcissist has a godlike complex, and anything that comes against it, the inner security mechanism that exists in other people to be agreeable or reasonable, it doesn't exist within the narcissist. When we have to come into agreement or see nuance, if we're healthy people, I can see, I can see your way and my way. I can see a way that both these things work together. A narcissist cannot make those compromises. It's my way or the highway. Oh, you don't like my way? Oh, hey, or no. Sometimes as a mature adult, we have to be able to take no for an answer. A narcissist can't take no for an answer. But the main thing I wanted to tell you that they don't want you to know is they can't trust you. They cannot trust you. They will not trust you. Now, there's a Bible verse that says, and again, I come at this because I believe God is love, what it says in the Bible. And I tell people the narcissist is everything opposite of love. Everything. Everything. They're not patient. We read in verses 4 through 7. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy or boast. The narcissist is the opposite of all that. Love is not arrogant or rude. The narcissist is arrogant and rude. It does not insist on its own way. They always insist on their own way. It is not irritable or resentful. The narcissist is always irritable and resentful. Always. I want to do a personality profile of a narcissist. Read 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and make everything the opposite. That's the person you're dealing with. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing or evil, but rejoices in the truth. The narcissist is looking to catch you. The narcissist looks for ways to catch their victim, not measuring up to their expectations. I'm not talking, and you and I both know, we're not talking about measuring up to reasonable expectations. We're talking about measuring up to unreasonable expectations. They expect you to be perfect and you to be trustworthy while they are actually imperfect, the more imperfect, and the less trustworthy. Look, people let us down. People forget. Nobody is perfect, but the narcissist, no matter how many imperfections they have, and we know they do have many imperfect character imperfections, personality imperfections, the ability to understand and reason. Okay, there's a lot there, and they're covering that up with this false facade of grandiosity. And sometimes when grandiosity doesn't work, they play the victim. So I want to encourage you, being the victim of, or being in the past, present, or in the future, don't prove yourself. Don't try to prove yourself, because 9 times out of 10, the performance level of the narcissist victim goes up, and exponentially, the performance level of the narcissist themselves goes down. They're flipping the script. That's what it is. It's a flipping of the script. The most trustworthy person in this equation is working to try to prove that they can be trusted, while the least trustworthy person in the equation does nothing, to give you or I evidence that we can trust them. It's a delusion. It's a delusion. And a delusion is a pathological belief that something is true when all of the evidence points to the contrary. You are believing that you can trust them, and you're believing that you have to prove that they can trust you when the evidence has already proven the opposite. And this is where you need a tribe of people, or you need someone to tell you it's not you. It's not you, and it never will be you. And there's a Bible verse that says, and it's when they're talking about the rich young ruler who walked away from Jesus sad, when Jesus said, "Only one thing you lack: sell all your possessions and give it to the poor, and come follow me." And he went away sad. And Jesus said, "It is harder to fit a rich man through the eye of a needle than it is to get him into the kingdom of heaven." And the disciples said, "Well, wow, who then can be saved?" And Jesus told him, "With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." And if you're dealing with a pathologically narcissistic individual and you've been trying to prove yourself, you've been trying to earn their love, and I know this because I've done it. I'm not coming at this from a sense of hierarchy or superiority. I'm coming from this of there's something in us that gets us to believe that we can win the approval or the understanding or the trust of someone who cannot trust. What Jesus said about the rich young ruler is true of the narcissist. With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. But not with you. Not with you, and not with myself. I should be able to get an amen on that. Because no matter how much evidence you show, you will never be able to convince a person who has an inability to trust others that you are trustworthy. You've already shown enough. You've already shown enough human evidence that you can be trusted, and they've already shown beyond a reasonable doubt that they can't be trusted. Does that does that sound like the definition of insanity? You have done everything. You've leaped over tall buildings. You've jumped through hoops. You've done backflips to show this person you love them and that you care about them and they can trust you. And that even if they are in error in some small way, it's not going to change your love for them. Okay, so egregious errors that narcissists make doesn't change your love for them or your commitment to them, and because they're constantly worried about being abandoned. So all the evidence you've presented to them has not won their trust, their love, or their affection. And all the evidence they've presented to you that they're untrustworthy, that they're unkind, that they're impatient, that they're envious, that they're boastful, that they're arrogant, that they're rude, that they insist on having their own way, they're irritable, they're resentful. They've shown you tons of evidence, and you say, "Oh, that's not true. Oh, I know. Deep down, she or he has a wonderful, beautiful heart. That's a delusion. I'm not saying this to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm saying this because the truth will set you free. The truth will set us free, beloved. The truth will truly set you free. So, all right, I just wanted to come on today and talk about that. If you're watching now or you watch this on the replay, if you catch this and you get this, you get what's being said here, drop a like and go ahead and subscribe and share if you care. Because look, this is one of the biggest things when a relationship with a narcissist begins. Oh, it begins well because they're love bombing you, because they're over the top, because at the beginning of the relationship you were part of their grandiose delusion of ideal love. And then when the honeymoon phase wears off, when the newness phase wears off, okay, that it's over. Then you get into love bombing, then they devalue you, then they discard you. So they loved you at the most when there was no evidence that you were even lovable. Do you get that? When the history and the investment that you've made since you've been devalued, none of you didn't make all that unconditional love and forgiveness and grace and mercy. You didn't make any of those investments, and they loved you at the most when they knew you the least. And now that you've supplied all the evidence that you are everything that it takes to have the real deal in a relationship, they love you the least. And when they've shown you all the evidence that they are all these things I just mentioned, you love them the most. Something's wired backwards here. Something's wired backwards here, beloved. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm telling me the truth because I had to come to this realization. The truth will set us free. The truth will set us free every time. Hey, Chicken Nugget, thanks for being in the chat and being my good participant. I've had a few others, and I really do hope this blesses somebody because we have to learn to be what Paul says here. To to not speak like a child, to not understand like a child, and to not think like a child. Paul said, "When I became a man, I put childish ways behind me." And I'm here to tell you, here to even ask you to consider that the things that the narcissist triggers in you that makes you try to seek their approval, try to prove yourself to them, try to invest more as they're investing the least. Ask yourself, does this come from somewhere familiar to me? Am I stuck in a childhood dynamic that came from my parents, my family of origin? Am I just trying to love somebody who's very similar to how my mother or my father loved me? Because most people don't have any clue what a real environment of unconditional love is remotely like. So I hope this blesses you. Until next time, this is Brother Rob. Grace, peace, and love. And I hope and pray that the truth has liberated you and continues to set you into a greater and greater degree of freedom today and progressively more and more in the future. Amen.